You can make your own bright future, Tom Trails.
As Tom hurried down the hall to his class, he saw a poster on the wall that sent his mind off into a dream world. The poster read, Junior Prom, February 20th, Boys Gym. As he walked along, a smile crossed his face. In his mind, he had an idea that made him feel happy inside. Mr. Lewis assigned the students to read chapter 12. Tom held the book in its proper position. He even turned the pages from time to time. But he wasn't really reading, he was thinking.
I remember the last time I asked Lily for a date. It was to a dance like this one. I hope she doesn't say no again. She won't say no. I can tell she likes me. She wouldn't have said no before if she hadn't already promised Sam she'd go with him. I'll ask her tonight on the bus. She'll say yes. I'm sure she will. I hope.
After school, Tom waited by the school door for Lily to come out. As he did so, he felt a bit shy and nervous.
What's wrong with me? I talk to her all the time and I'm not scared. Why should I be scared now?
Lily, would you like to ride home?
Sure, Tom. I always ride home. What's the matter with you?
Would you ride home in the seat next to mine?
Oh, sure.
As the bus pulled away from the school, Tom was silent. He needed time to build up courage. Lily didn't speak either. She, too, had seen the sign at school. She hoped Tom had something to ask her. So she waited silently.
Lily?
Yes?
You know the prom is coming up. Well, I'd like to, could you go to that with me?
Yes, Tom. I'd like to.
Again, Tom was silent. Now that Lily had said yes, he didn't know what to say next. Because of his previous lack of confidence, he had never gone on a date before. The excitement of thinking of this adventure, plus his feelings for Lily, caused him to feel an exciting kind of happiness. Finally, the time for the dance arrived. As Lily and Tom entered, Tom felt awkward. He didn't know much about dancing. But soon his awkwardness vanished. Lily was teaching him how to dance, and he was enjoying himself to the fullest. That night after the dance, Tom stood with Lily at the front door of her house. As he looked at her, he felt that all the world centered around her.
I'd like to kiss her goodnight, but what would I do if she didn't want to?
He had finally found the courage to ask her for a date. But to kiss her, well, he didn't have that kind of courage yet. After saying goodnight to Lily, Tom Trails walked on home. In his mind and in his heart, he was convinced that he was the happiest person alive. Thus, a romance was born. During the months that followed, Tom and Lily were together often, too often. Tom's work and school began to go downhill. His grades fell lower than they had been all year. He gave up helping the missionaries because he felt he didn't have time. After all, the only time he could be with Lily was in the evenings. His attendance at seminary became irregular. It was hard to get up so early when one stayed up so late. One day in the speech class, Mrs. Jacobson announced that there were only 2 more months of school. She gave each student the assignment of preparing a short talk on what their plans were after graduation. That night, as Tom walked to Lily's house, his mind was on the assignment, not because he was so concerned with the talk, but more because, for the first time, he really wondered what he would do after graduation. It was then that an idea hit him, almost like a bolt of lightning. The idea was so startling that it almost frightened him.
I'll ask Lily to marry me. If she says yes, and I'm sure she will, then all my problems will be over.
Tom was right. Lily did say yes. And that night was spent walking under the stars and making plans for an early summer marriage. The next day, Tom was in a dream world all day. He'd worried about school up until now, but now he was going to get married. What did school matter? That night, Tom went to MIA. He didn't intend to stay. He just wanted to get Elder Tyson aside long enough to tell him the good news. Finally, Elder Tyson was able to break away.
I've got some good news.
Have you? What is it?
I'm getting married.
You mean to Lily?
Sure, she's my girl. Who else would I marry?
Oh, Tom, you're kidding. You mean in a few years you're getting married, not right away.
Yeah, just as soon as school's out. You're the first one I've told about it.
Tom, it's your life. Nobody can live it for you. Now, I don't want to try to do that, but, well, Tom, think this over. Marriage is something serious. You can't rush into it.
We're not rushing into it. We talked it over. We know what we're doing.
Tom, we're friends. Would you mind if I tried to show you a few reasons why you should wait?
I don't want to wait.
I know you don't, but at least listen to me for a few minutes. Eternity is a long time, and one of the most important things you'll do in all eternity is get married. Upon the kind of marriage you have, almost all eternal blessings are based.
I know that. Lily's a good girl. She'll help me live a good life.
I know she will, Tom, but you're not ready to help her.
What do you mean?
Just because you're not prepared, you need time.
Time for what?
Time to do some of the things the Lord expects of you.
Like what?
Like becoming an elder, like going on a mission, like getting prepared to go to the temple so you can get married there for all eternity.
Maybe we'll go there later.
And maybe you won't. Why not wait and go there in the beginning? Why not do it right from the start? Tom, give yourself more time. Try to understand. Right now, you're just looking out of a little window of life. Give yourself time to go outside and look at the eternities.
Tom sat silently. He hadn't even imagined that Elder Tyson would try to talk him out of his plan. But now he was confused. Something inside him told him that the words he was hearing were true.
Tom, you're like those who followed Jesus while he was on earth. They admired Jesus and they loved him, but they didn't really understand him. They didn't see how his teachings fit into the eternal plan. They didn't understand him when he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Jesus wanted the people to understand. He wanted them to see things in their eternal setting. Once, a friend of Jesus named Lazarus had died. Jesus came to raise this man from the dead. Before he did, he spoke to the man's sister. I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Later, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him and went to a high mountain. And there, as they watched, Jesus' clothing became shiny and white as snow. And there appeared unto them Elias and Moses. And they were talking with Jesus. And there was a cloud that overshadowed them. And a voice came out of the cloud, saying, This is my beloved Son. He saith unto them, But whom say ye that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. It all boils down to the question Jesus asked his disciples, Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, Some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. He saith unto them, But whom say ye that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Tom, your decision rests on the same question. Who do you say Christ is? If he's just a great man or a great teacher, you don't need to follow him. But if he's the Christ, the Son of the living God, then perhaps you should think things over again in their eternal setting, like he would want you to.
Tom sat silently. He loved Lily, and he wanted to marry her. But at the same time, what would it hurt to wait a few years? In that time, he could do so much to help others and to prepare himself.
Well, Tom, who is Jesus to you?
He is Christ, the Son of the living God.
That night, Tom knelt by his bed. He poured out his heart to God. He renewed his determination to follow Jesus. He prayed for the strength to tell Lily and asked the Lord to help her understand. Sleep was slow in coming. There was much to think about.